commercial real estate versus residential real estate. Now, I just got off a call with a client that had the capacity to start investing in commercial real estate, but I advised him to stay in the residential world because I didn't believe he was ready to invest in commercial real estate just yet. Now, there's no denying that commercial real estate does have capital growth. I'm not denying that whatsoever. But to say commercial real estate has the same capital growth as residential and as consistent capital growth as residential is just not true. Commercial real estate over the last 5 years has had a very, very good run, as has residential, because if your rental income was tied to CPI being inflation and we were getting 5, 6, 7% inflation, naturally your rental increases were 5, 6, 7%, and that directly correlates to the value of your asset. But if we look at the previous 10 years to that, where inflation was relatively stable, rental increases were maybe increasing by 2 to 4%, the growth wasn't as strong and it also wasn't as consistent. You can't just go back to the bank every 6 months and get your commercial real estate revalued and get a lick of equity and release it from that property like you can with residential. So unless you have a huge amount of residential real estate or a huge amount of equity that you don't necessarily need any more equity growth on, or you don't need as fast of equity growth on, by getting into commercial too soon, you are going to struggle to then leverage off that to get into your next asset. And remember, when you're investing in commercial real estate, you also need larger deposits. You generally need 30% plus your stamp duty being another 5%, so you need 35%. And on a $2 million asset, we're talking $700,000 to $800,000 of equity. So if he would have got into commercial real estate right now, he would have had a strong cash flowing asset that, of course, will slowly decrease debt over time, but he would have limited the amount of equity he would have access to over the next 2 to 4 years, versus if he went into residential real estate and bought two $1 million or two $1.5 million assets, of which you could consistently get revalued every 6 months to get access to equity, because there's lots of sales happening around it that are constantly showing the increase in value, which means you get an increase in equity, growing your overall capital base. And then when he has a large chunk of capital, that's when he can start divesting that capital into commercial, because he's less reliant now on that commercial real estate growing in value at a rapid rate. All he's relying on the commercial real estate for is cash flow and the ability to decrease the debt. So I always advise people never to go into commercial too early. Build your residential real estate asset base first, build your equity base first, and then when you've got enough equity, and that's going to be different for every person and the income level and what your goals and aspirations are, then you can move across into commercial real estate.